Most of the time, we're glued to the same old chess match, right? The US, China, Europe. But what if I told you the most important game of the 21st century is being played on a totally different board? Yeah, a massive global power shift is happening, and it's way off the radar of the usual headlines.
So, where exactly is this new contest for global influence going down? If you're picturing the South China Sea or maybe Eastern Europe, well, you might be looking in the completely wrong place.
And get this, forget tanks and fighter jets. This isn't your granddad's kind of conflict. The battlefield is entirely economic. And the weapons of choice? Well, they look a lot more like data centers and solar panels. The arena for this new great game, the continent of Africa. The prize is, quite simply, a stake in what's becoming one of the most valuable economic frontiers on the entire planet. So, what exactly makes it such a crucial piece of the global puzzle? First off, it comes down to people. Just think about this single fraction. By 2050, 1 out of every 3 working-age people on Earth will be in Africa. We're talking about an absolutely immense pool of human capital and a consumer market that is just gigantic. Then you've got energy. Africa is sitting on nearly half of the world's untapped renewable energy potential. Seriously. In a world that's scrambling to figure out a green transition, that fact alone makes the continent an absolutely essential player. And let's be clear, this is not just a story about pulling stuff out of the ground anymore. The continent's digital economy is just exploding. It's on track to hit $180 billion by 2025. We are seeing this fundamental shift into tech, finance, and services. Okay, so with a prize this big, you have to ask, who are the powers in play? Let's take a look at who's competing for influence, and more importantly, how they're doing it. And right away, we're seeing two totally different playbooks. On one side, you have China with its hardware-first approach. They're building the roads, the ports, the factories. Then on the other side, you have the West, focusing more on the, let's call it the software of the economy, controlling digital payments, data, and all the financial networks. And if you want to understand the sheer scale of China's hardware play, just look at this number. Projections show that in a single month in 2025, Africa will import over 1.5 gigawatts of Chinese solar panels. That just shows you how deeply Beijing's strategy is already baked into Africa's energy future. But the West is playing a completely different game. Check out Visa's push into digital infrastructure. You got to think of a data center as like the modern version of a central bank vault. It's a huge strategic move to control the digital highways of commerce and lock in a key role in the continent's booming fintech scene. But look, all this potential and all this competition, it doesn't happen in a fantasy land. To really get the full picture, we have to look at the tough realities on the ground and some of the serious challenges that are still there. And that brings us to what you could call a critical growth gap. So to really make a dent in poverty, economists figure the continent needs to grow at about 7% a year. Right now, the projection is closer to 4%. Now, Africa is absolutely moving forward, but there's a real risk it might not be happening fast enough for millions of people. And that gap gets even harder to close when you factor in these very real hurdles. We're talking about lingering political instability in some areas, some really crushing debt burdens, and this development that's often super uneven, concentrated in the big cities while leaving rural areas way behind. And just take one of those gaps, the digital divide. I mean, it is stark. While internet access is growing, and growing fast, Africa's average penetration is still around 37%, a long way from the global average of 67%. Now, this is a massive challenge, for sure. But for investors, it's also a massive opportunity. So, we've got a continent just brimming with potential, a new great game between global superpowers, and some very real, very tough challenges. It's a fascinating story for sure, but why should any of this matter to you, personally? Well, whether you realize it or not, you are already connected to this story. In fact, there are at least 3 direct links through your investments, the technology you use every day, and, yeah, your future. First up, your money. For anyone out there looking for the next big wave of growth, I don't care if you're an entrepreneur or you just have a 401k, Africa represents some of the last truly untapped emerging markets on a massive, massive scale. Second, the tech that's probably in your hand or in your pocket right now. The critical minerals that make your phone work and more, the data infrastructure that powers your apps. It's all directly tied to the continent's physical and digital supply chains. And finally, your future. I mean, the outcome of this whole economic competition is going to help decide the global balance of power for this century. It's going to influence everything from the price of gas to the speed and success of the entire world's green energy transition. It's that big. Which leaves us with one last really critical question. In this modern economic scramble for Africa, who's actually going to win? Will it be foreign powers, global corporations, or will the incredible potential of the continent finally be harnessed by and for the people of Africa themselves? That, right there, is the defining question of this whole new economic era.